Hey guys, welcome back. So I thought we would have a chat about the Caran d'Ache Supracolors. I've had the ADP set for quite a while now, but I always wanted the full set, you know, so I finally just bit the bullet and got them. I had to sort of save up for it, but you know, it's all good. So what I thought I would discuss first with you guys is the little wrap that it comes in. And as you can see, I've already had a play with them. I definitely got some things to show you. And it's probably going to be in two parts because it would just, otherwise it would be too long. So the back has the little intro about the little, you know, information here. And in about 6 languages. It's crazy. There's a little thing that has the color swatch and then the corresponding number for that pencil. So that's something to look at. Now, the other thing also too, if I could turn this around, it also has a thing here where it shows what one of the pencils actually looks like. And as you can see, it has like the pencil name, Supracolor Soft, and there's more I'm going to tell you about that, because that's there's an interesting story behind that. So, and then it has Caran d'Ache, Swiss made, and it has I don't know what the 3888 means. That's not the pencil number. I don't know what that means. But I know the pencil name and number are on the other side of what they're showing. I'm not sure. If anybody knows in the comments, please let me know. I have no idea what, if anything, that means. So the company itself was started in 1915, which that's a really long time, guys. That's a long time. And it was started by a guy named Alexander, and he must have been Russian, perhaps, because Caran d'Ache, fun fact, comes from the Russian word for pencil, and that has roots in Turkish. No fun, right? So, 1931, the Prismalo, which was the world's first watercolor pencil, was introduced. So that's where our journey starts, right there in the 1931. So we jump all the way back up to 1988, which is when the Supracolor came in. So that's something to be aware of. And Swiss made, AP certified. This means your kid could like chew on it and it wouldn't kill them, you know, because it's non-toxic and all that. Now what I love here, I don't know if my camera will pick this up, guys, or not, but if you can read that, I don't know if it'll focus. It might not. But it's sustainably sourced cedar wood, which is really nice. I absolutely love that. So let's turn this over. And usually this comes wrapped around the box. Well, I'll show you. Hold on. Kind of like so. And the ADP set is the same way. Now, the thing I want to talk about, I did this off camera because I have vision issues, and as small as everything was, it took me forever to swatch this. Plus, there was a couple of issues that frankly sort of shocked me. I don't normally see mistakes like this from such a high-end pencil company, so it surprised me. I don't remember if my ADP set was the same way or not, but the number 80, which is carmine, which is what it says on the pencil, is listed as Carmine Lake. So that's just something to be aware of. And also, rose pink is listed as old pink on this. I was very upset with them, and I emailed them. I said, basically, I expect better from you guys. I mean, I was nice, but, you know. So, the other thing that is important to note, and for some people this matters, and some folks it doesn't. There's a light fast rating. Number 3 is excellent, number 2 is very good, and then 1 is good. There are only maybe 3 or 4 that are in the good category. And let's see, let me pull out my... Okay. Let's pull out my handy dandy thing here. And I apologize for the hinky way that I put the light fast dots on. I had already laminated everything, realized I had forgotten to put that on. I was like, oops. So, salmon pink, and periwinkle blue, mauve, and I think that's it. Yeah, those are the only ones that are rated as good. Rest are either 2 or 3. And I would say the balance between, there's probably more 2s than anything, but there's a pretty good balance between 2s and 3s. It's nice that they kind of do that. But I did this off camera just so that you guys could see what it looked like, and how it's supposed to be done. I mean, but you could do it however you want. If I had thought about it in hindsight, I would have done half of this activated and half not, kind of like I did here. And this is what I would recommend. Instead of doing this, we're just going to put that away. I would suggest that I actually have this in my on my Excel. So I made this up, so it's all my credit, my own work. What I would suggest to you, and there were a few issues, as you can tell right here. I wrote brownish red instead of orange, you know, dumb stuff like that. There are a couple pencils that are a little bit out of order from the way they, you know, came in the box. But I fixed all those issues in the uncolored, unswatched version that I made up of this, the blank one. So if you want that, I would be more than happy to give that to you. Just DM me on Sherry's Creations, and that'd probably be the best one. But you can also email me. My email address should be listed at the end, and it should be in the description. Please let me know if it's not, because it should be. So, but do half of it, like swatch, color in the whole thing, and then just activate half of it. That way you can see what it looks like wet versus dry. I tell people the same thing when it comes to Derma ink tints, because they look so completely different. You know, use like a regular colored pencil, which you can absolutely do. And you can activate some and not some parts of the pencil and not others. You know what I mean? There's really no rules there. But I can tell you that it does change things, you know, when they're activated. It just, like, they pop so much more. So if you want that, and this is, oops, hold on. Okay. This is the order that they came to me in the box. I printed it out the opposite way that they wrote the black one at the bottom and worked their way up to the top on the cardboard one, which I thought was really weird. So I started with the black and just, you know, followed it down, and I fixed all the little mistakes that I made. So this is what you would be getting. I would be happy to give that to you. And you don't, and you know, I would be happy to share that with you. I know how useful they are. Some people hate to swatch. I love it because I think it's very useful. Now, the other thing before I show you the actual pencils that I want to note is that there are some, this is a swatch chart that I did not make up. I don't remember who did, or I would like give them credit. I don't know. But they did make a mistake of their own. It was reddish orange, and they put it's reddish yellow, and they put reddish orange. But the NAs that you see here, Oops, there you go. Sorry. Are the ones that are not in the EP set that are in the other one. So, and you can see there's quite a few of them. Let's see, oh, ta-da! All right, so I have this also. If you want it, that's up to you. It's nothing fancy. It's not nothing. You know, I would probably sell on Etsy, but it does the job. So, let's see. Okay. Now, you will notice that there are a few pencils missing, and that's because I have them set aside. Some of these are from the old set, and some are from the new set because the old set didn't contain those colors. So I have this set aside to show you guys a few little combinations that I came up with. But I will tell you this. The pencils do need to be put away in a certain order, because if you don't, they won't go back into the container right. So this is how it usually comes. So with the black, and you got your greens and your like earthy browns, your metallics, and the metallics are actually pretty nice. And I do not like these little cheap. I wish they could do better on that. I'm not a fan. But, you know, what can you do? And they're grays. They have a decent amount of grays and gray browns. The star of the show really is silver gray. I'll show you why later. But, and of course, sorry, you also got your oranges and yellows. I wish they could do better when it comes to reds. They don't have that many reds, in my opinion. They don't have nearly enough reds. And I love red. It's like one of my favorite colors. So that's something they could really work on. Of course, we got our blues and purples. They're also a little short in the purple department, but I would say their earth tones and their blues are probably their strongest color selection. They do have a few amazing pinks, as you can see, like right here. Granite Rose, and it has a light fast rating of 3, which is it's very opaque. It's a beautiful color. So pull these back, and you have to do this one in the middle, and you pull that out, and then just sort of tuck it. I kind of bend the plastic ones over it like that, and that way it'll close properly. Just, you know, one of those things I found out the hard way. So the thing that we're going to look on, and I'm going to scroll down a little bit so you guys can see a little better. There we go. Okay. Because sometimes my phone has a hard time focusing, and I apologize, guys, but you see how super reflective those labels are? That absolutely drives me bonkers, you guys. I have like I said, I have vision issues, so I can't read these labels at all right now, which is really not fun. But here you will have the pencil name, its light fast rating, the number. See, the light fast rating is right. I don't know if my camera will focus, but we're going to try. No. Focus. Please focus. 2, and then the color, which is light olive. And then it has it in Swiss also, which is really cool. Now, one thing I will say this, I hate the barcodes that they put on the newer ones. I was just like, but they do that because they're available in open stock. So, I understand why, but it's annoying. Oh, I almost forgot to tell you, too. Look, remember we were talking about the fact that it says Supracolor 2 on here, soft? Okay, so at one point, there was a Super 1. And it was a harder, thinner version of what these Supracolor 2 softs are. They were supposed to be for like if you did urban sketching and stuff like that. Little more like a Verithin is the closest thing I can come to it. This was supposed to be for like shading now. Excuse me. The Supracolor ones are I have seen some on eBay. So if you wanted to try them out, there are a few still out there. They're a little pricey, but they came out in 1988, so you know, it's been a minute. Truthfully, I'd like to try the pomalos, because I have never, and I hope I'm saying that right. I might not be, because I mean the first ever watercolor pencil, you know. So it's just, if that's something that interests you, if you like to collect vintage art supplies, I have seen the super ones on eBay. So the next thing we're going to move on to is I'm going to tell you like the sizes that they come in, because that matters to some people. Not everybody can afford the full set. They do come in 12, a set of 12, 18, 30, 60, 80, and the 80 set and the 120 set also come in the famous wooden box thing. Look, from me to you, don't waste your money. Please don't waste your money. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. So, I mean, I don't know. Some people like those things, and you know, more power to you. But they are several $100s more, which is just like, these are expensive enough. So, it's your call, but you know they're there if you want to. Now, as we have said previously, they do have a nice cedar wood casing, which I absolutely love. Because I'll tell you what, the first time you open this up, one of their pencils up, whether it be their Pablos, which were like the first wax crayon, water resistant crayon pencil, as they called it back then. Oh my gosh, and you can hear me sniff at it, right? They're all like that. They have this wonderful, almost like a mothball smell. I like to smell mothballs. I'm weird, but that's what it smells like. It's funny. Now, I would show you this part, but they cap them, which to me, I don't know. I don't mind that they do or don't, but it is nice when they don't, because you can see the actual core. It's supposed to be, according to like my research, it's about a 3.8 width with about a 6.9 millimeter cedar wood casing. So I guess that's like what it is total. And I also have a list here of the Supras that are 3 and that are a 2. So it would take me a while to list all that, but I can give you that information if you would like. It's also available on the swatches that I made. So now, the other thing I wanted to show you, let's put these away for the time being. Ta-da! Set this aside. Okay. This is some swatches that I made up of a few combinations. And I don't remember where I got the little swatch sheet from. Obviously, it wasn't made for this, but it works, you know, just X out a few things. Yeah, Pinterest, gotta love it, right? So, I just thought this was kind of a nice bluish kind of mix. This is supposed to be like a gold, but I kind of messed it up a little bit. And there's a silver, so, you know, everything pink, or that's kind of like a flame color. But the thing that's nicest is the apricot, or not apricot. The thing that is the nicest is the skin tone. This is supposed to be like a skin tone mix. It kind of probably doesn't look like it. When you try to swatch a skin tone mix, that's kind of hard to do, you know, when you're not like on a face and stuff. But trust me when I say apricot, salmon, cinnamon, green ochre and dark carmine, it makes like for shadows and the highlights and all that. You could also throw in a little cream too if you wanted. It's really good stuff. I thought we would do a few of those. And some of the fun ways that you can play around with these things. So here are my pencils. Ta-da! I have them already set aside. Now there is going to be a part 2 to this because I have a big picture I did. And I had to speed color it and stuff like that a little bit because it took me a while to do this picture. So I would show you guys this one. So first what I do, and I'm going to actually take my second lightest color, which is I'm not going to do the white because I wouldn't see where it is on here on the paper. So I'm just going to use my second lightest color, which is, let's see if I can actually read, with jade green. Woo, I can read today, yay. All right, some days I cannot actually, but okay. Now, let's get the white. Now that I can see where my line definitions are, I can go in. And there's my white. And then I'm going to go in with the jade green again. Kind of right over it. I'm going to go halfway just because you don't want to go all the way over. Otherwise you won't see any difference. Isn't this a gorgeous color? This is, oh dear. Okay, time for the old lady glasses again. I wear regular glasses, so these help a lot. Turquoise green, that's right. Honestly, guys, the labeling on these, I really wish they weren't so reflective. It's absolutely annoying. So, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this should be malachite. Oh, I still can't read it. Hold on. Oh my God, I can't read it. Okay, this is greenish blue. This is an amazing color, by the way. It has a light fast rating of 3 too. Let's see. Oh, let's see what these ones have. If I remember correctly, yep, the jade green has 2, and the malachite, there's the malachite green, has a 2 also. And believe it or not, the white is a 3. Yeah, isn't that amazing? I was just like, huh. So let's turn this around actually. You know what? Sorry. Hold on. There we go. I was going to start in a different direction. I said, no, I think this will work better. Because I want the water to flow. I want the stuff to flow down to the bottom. And the way I had it was not going to do that. I tried sideways swatching, guys, and it did not. Don't do it. Just don't. It doesn't work at all. Now, I'm going to wipe off. Always keep a paper towel or something like that handy. It's really useful, especially as you get to the bottom here. You want to wipe some of that off so you don't have quite so much of the lighter colors on your tip, because otherwise everything will just kind of wash together, which is kind of what happened on the swatch I showed you. Now, if you want to further do that, just wipe it on your paper towel and just kind of just blend it in however you like. Ta-da! And I'm just going to wipe this off a little bit. And what you can also do is turn it on like this. Let's see if you guys can see this running down. I don't know if it'll show or not, but ta-da! Isn't that gorgeous? And you can just kind of gradually, after you wipe your brush, you can just gradually kind of tweak it, just like I'm doing. And don't put your finger in it. There we go. Ta-da! And you can just sort of gradually pull it down a little bit at a time. Go back into the shadow areas. Be very careful that you don't have any of the lighter tones on your watercolor brush or whatever brush you're using. You rinse it. It will sort of make this get too faded. It won't stand out like at the value that you want it. So that's just food for thought and hard lessons learned. So again, I'm just going to go with the lightest one that isn't white, just here, just for purposes of so we can all see what I'm doing. Ta-da! And if I'm not mistaken, you know, I really should email these guys about their labels, honestly, don't you think? Anyway, this is mauve and it has a light fast, it's the one of the few that has a light fast rating of 1. Now, none of this light fast thing, I'm not a professional artist, so it doesn't matter to me. But if you are aspiring professional artist, I can see it mattering. So, I'm going to do it this way instead of sideways because I want everything to sort of drift. And it's not going to drift down if I have it sideways. You know, the pesky physics laws and all that. Okay, violet. And I'm kind of going over just a little bit. But you see how beautiful these are just as colored pencils on their own right? I mean, you could just use these as regular colored pencils and I don't think it would matter, honestly. Now, here's going to be a surprise addition. Is indigo. And just a wee bit of black. Now, please understand, when you use the black, just a little bit. This is like your deepest, darkest shadow color. And I'm not even putting a heavy amount of that. Now, if you want, you could take a little white, not white, that's cream, white, and put it down here. You see how nicely that blends and lightens it up? You could do that too. Okay, make sure you rinse your brush really good. Have your paper towel or your clean rag handy. And I'm going to just work my way up this time. My table's fairly level, so that's something to consider too when you're doing waterwork. Is, you know, how thick level your table is, or your whatever it is you're working on, surface you're working on. Because you know, if you want the water to go where you want it to go, not where the gravity tells you it's gonna go. Just food for thought there. I'm gonna wipe this off. And I'll just go around. Ta-da. And I'm trying to keep the lightest colors out of the darkest areas as much as possible. Which you want to blend the mid with the dark, but you don't want to blend the light into the dark, because it'll just, like I said a minute ago, it's gonna just, you know, it's not gonna look right. It's gonna look all washed out and stuff. Now, another thing you can do if you make a mistake and, like, say you've got too much of pigment, just kind of lift, like just like I just did. It's a little harder because this is a watercolor brush, but it too. Let's just do like I did a minute ago. I'm doing the same thing. I'm just letting gravity kind of do the work. Okay, just gonna make sure I grab the right colors. Dark gray. Where did they go? There we are. Okay. This should make you a nice silver mix. Oh, white, geez, most important one. Okay. So let's see what a nice silver looks like. And again, I'm going with my second lightest color just so that you guys can see the marks that I'm making on the paper. I found this to be a really nice silver mix. And this is that silver gray color I was telling you guys about. Ooh, sorry. The reflections, my camera does not like these reflections at all. So it has a light fast rating of 2, but this is a cool color. It's a really cool color. So I'm going to start with my white. This is when you could kind of mix up a little bit more because you kind of want it all to blend except for the deepest, darkest areas. And that was, oh, sorry, I forgot to show you guys what I was using. That's just more of the silver gray. Here's another good one, bluish pale. I use this color a lot. And I'm using just a little here. I'm not using too much. You don't want too much. I used a little too much in the swatch, I think. I was just kind of messing around when I did that. Like, it's not a serious swatching. You know what I mean? Just playing around a little bit. And this is dark gray. This is also a really nice color. And it has a light fast rating of 3, which is pretty good. And you, with the darker spots here, you want to, again, try to keep the lighter colors out of them, except for maybe a little of the white, but just be careful. Too much blending with something like this in particular can actually make things look really muddy. So, I mean, you see how nice he's laid down though, right? I mean, it's just, you, as I said, you could use these as a colored pencil, but it's like having powers and only using half of them. And this is the black. And again, I'm using just a little at the very top, right here. And I think I'm also going to add a little more of that silver gray back in, because that's kind of my predominant color next to the white. All right, let's see how this works. Ta-da. Hold on, let me make sure my brush is clean. Okay, it's a little harder with watercolor brushes. Sometimes I struggle with a little bit. It can be tricky. It can be very tricky messing with watercolor brushes. I'm going to wipe my brush off a little bit. Because if you get too much, find that you have too much pigment, that can sort of be a problem. So you just have to monitor the amount of water and the amount of pigment you have. And this is one case, however, you can blend them a little bit more. Otherwise, you won't get your silver. And that white is, and the white and the silver gray are really the keys for making your silver. You also have to bear in mind that, as I said, the colors will change as it dries. You can see here how it's already started to, this actually darkened up a little. Usually they get lighter. And sadly, I can tell I had too much water. You see that, how that is? That means I had too much water. So I'm just gonna, yeah. You can tell. That's how it'll end up looking if you have too much water. it can do that. So that's why it's important to monitor your water control, because otherwise you end up with what you just saw. Now the other key thing here, if you want to activate the blending, especially in this case, is to again just tilt it. And I'm going to turn this around, and I'm going to grab my white. And here's another way you can use these, is to get your brush and just do this. Very gently though, until you see the pigment activate on the pencil and you can see it coming up on your brush. But be very careful with, they're like with the Derma Inktense pencils. When they're wet, they're very vulnerable and fragile. So just be very careful that you sit these upright. Like, I don't know if anybody can have anything like this, but just sit them upright like that and let them dry. Or you can hang them upside down as long as they're not pushing against anything. It's up to you. But I would highly recommend it. Watch this. And I'm letting a little bit of that white into there, which normally I would not do. But when you're trying to make like colors like silver and gray, you kind of have to have that white. Now, when that dries, if I didn't feel like there was enough of a shadow, I could add a little bit of that black in, like just like this. Just wipe your brush off, whether it be one of these or a regular one. And just keep wiping it off. That's one of the really important things when you're blending with watercolor pencils, is when you're trying to blend like this, is to wipe it off frequently. Especially when you have a darker pigment like that I had right there. It helps it to blend a little better. So that's one way to do it. I'm going to take this and I'm going to add one final thing of white to mix it all in with. Ta-da! So that's one way to do silver. And I have one more for you, which is gold. Find my right colors. Okay. So I'm going to start with the cream. Just so you guys can see what I'm doing, hopefully. Now, you might not be able to see the cream. That's okay. But that's what I'm saying. This is another magic color, by the way, cream. It has a light fast rating of 3, which is really good. And I apologize if I sound a little plugged up, guys. I sincerely apologize. For some reason, I am a little bit congested. And this is just yellow with a light fast of 2. And then we're going to jump into some, it should be flame red. It should be, yeah. I'm gonna make sure. Oh, I don't think that's what I wanted. Hold on. Let's see. And we got russet. Yeah. Russet's a good color. It's a really nice color for gold. And it has a light fast rating of 2. This russet right here, this is your key. Believe it or not. That and the yellow. And then finally a little, oh, I almost forgot. Hold on. Yikes. I almost forgot a really important color. we almost forgot a very important color, guys. So, Van Dyke. Important color for making gold. And I believe, yeah, it has a light fast rating of 2, which kind of surprises me. You don't want a lot of this, by the way, just a little bit. Ta-da! Just a little bit. Just enough to like saturate the paper. And the black is very little. Now, if you find that the yellow that you use is a little too cool, you can grab a warmer yellow, like for example this is fast orange, and just add a little bit of that in like this, and it will sort of tone that down a little bit. So let's get the old watercolor brush, make sure it's clean. Ta-da! All right. Ta-da-da-da. Now, and if you feel like the yellow is still not strong enough, just grab your brush, like that. Oh, that was almost an accident. See what almost happened? Ta-da! It's just, actually, we're gonna just, there we go. I used a little too much black, I think. So. Now once that dries, it will not dry looking like that. It will dry much differently. And I'm also going to add in a little, you just have to do basically what I'm doing and just tinker with it until it's the way you want. Seeing how it looks, it just really kind of is one of those things. Sometimes you really can't tell until it's dry what it's actually going to look like. Supras dry and with what I call oil pastel crayons. So I did this. Let's put this stuff aside. Ta-da! Let's put these aside. Excuse the arm. Okay, there we go. So I did this with 90% Supras and, well, 80% Supras and 20% oil pastel crayons. These two are really great. This, by the way, this image came out of Johanna Bashford's Christmas book, which has been out for a few years now. And the great thing about using Supras, or any watercolor pencil really, is that you can take an oil pastel crayon. I don't know if you can see where the blue is right here, where my finger is. So, some of those areas and like the silver right here are oil pastel crayons. I'll show you. I set these aside because I wanted to show you guys one of the magic ways that you can use these. All right, let's flip this over. All right, so like say you're working in a book like what I just showed you that has images like what I just showed you, and you want certain areas to kind of stay put. Grab your, and they don't have to be Neo 1s. Neo Color 1, which is the oil pastel crayon from Caran d'Ache. Neo 2s are the water soluble. Those are a whole nother thing. Take your and it doesn't have to be Neo 2s. They could be the Posca Uni Posca has a great oil pastel crayon that's like this. That's very much like a crayon. I would recommend the harder ones like that or like this one, because you can sharpen them to a much more finer detail versus like say your King Art kind of thing. They're a little creamier. Those are better for backgrounds. So say you want have a picture and you have an area that you want to stay defined. You take and don't push too hard, by the way, or you see how they might have gotten crumbly because they're a little bit old. And these are so blendable. I could do a whole nother thing with these, and if you want me to, let me know. Take your let's say if I want to take another crayon, just blow them away, just so you have color. And that's how you kind of blend them. So you've defined your area. Now watch this. If you should be blurable. Let's put on the granny glasses. Hashtag granny glasses. Okay. Ultramarine. Okay. Thought it was royal blue, but no, ultramarine. And be careful when you sweep those away like I just did. Be careful that you don't smear it across the page. And take your pencil and I would do just enough to cover the tooth, but not like totally. And I'm going to actually throw in this just for fun, throw in the mauve. Now comes the fun. Watch this. Turn your pencil every so often too, and color with a light hand. Do you see how I'm coloring sort of further back like that? You want to do that because it will help you to not push so hard. And there's no worse way to ruin a good high quality pencil than when you're constantly breaking it from pushing it too hard. So, okay, watch this. I'm going to grab my watercolor brush. Make sure it's clean. Because sometimes I forget and that's a disaster. All right. Watch this. Now, you can use so much water that it overflows the barrier. Okay, that has happened to me. So that's just something to, bear in mind. If you use too much pigment water, it's going to overflow the barrier. I'll clean my brush off. Watch this. Watch this. Hold on. Can you see that? It's not going outside the crayon. It's like acting like a wax resist crayon, which is you can buy those separately, but that's essentially what I did for this. Right here, right in here, on like where the blue is, and where this silver is, all the way around here and here. And around these parts, I use these oil stick crayons to keep the water confined to certain areas. And what you want to do when that dries, or you can, if you want it to blend with it, you can just color over it. That's a beautiful mix, by the way. I'm gonna have to remember that. I like it. What did I do? It was the ultramarine and the mauve. Wow, nice combo, guys, right? Oh, I like that. Let's see. Well, watch this. Ta-da. It keeps it, your beautiful Supra, out of where you don't want it. It's a really nice technique for doing detailed pictures with watercolor pencils. Now, if I really wanted to, I could go over this both. I'm gonna clean this off. But you kind of get the idea. You see how it's not, it's hitting that wax resist oil pastel barrier, and it's keeping the two watercolors separate. And you see that the purple is not bleeding into the blue whatsoever. I mean, I'm going straight right up to it, and you see how it's just hitting it, and it's just not going any further. So, when you use the Supras, do like that, and you can do pictures like this much easier. I guarantee it. Because you won't have to let things dry quite so much as you would if you were blending everything together. And especially when it's detailed like that, it makes it go so much faster and crisper looking. I'm curious though what this would look like. Let's try something. I want to see what this looks like. Huh, that's interesting. Now you see how it's I'm blending everything together just for fun because I want to see what it looks like. But can you see how it's not that wax resist crayon is, watch this. This is the best way I could show you. Watch this. You can see that drifting down. Do you see how it's just going right around it? And it's just flowing right around the circle and to the bottom and hitting the bottom of the ring down here. Ta-da! And the ring is still there. So that's how I preserved those tiny little detailed lines and stuff like that before I laid down the Supra. I laid down the oil pastel areas first. And as long as I was careful, if I didn't want the mix to, you know, make sure I stayed within that area when I was brushing, ta-da, there it is. Now, I thought I would show you a little bit about how these look on black paper. It's really cool. It's 100% cotton Stonehenge. I got this at Blick for like, I don't know, $2-3. It's pretty cool, right? So, you want to just take color, color or lay it down like you normally would. And I'm going to add in, you look how these pop though, isn't it just remarkable? You have to lay down a little bit extra when you're working with black paper though, because otherwise it might not show. Look at that though, isn't that gorgeous? Oh. Look how vibrant that is. It's crazy. Now some of the darker colors won't show up quite as bright, but I mean, look at that, guys. Isn't that absolutely stunning? Look at that. Isn't that absolutely gorgeous? And when it dries, it'll look much different. So, but I think that's really pretty. So we're gonna put that aside and let it dry. This is such a fun thing. They had a whole bit of them, and I was like, yes, please. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. It's a lot of fun. There is going to be a part 2 because as I mentioned earlier, I have that picture that I did, and that's just long enough that it kind of needs to be its own little thing. So I will post that after I post this video. Other thing is that there's going to be, I did a little slideshow of the the oil pastel crayons and the Supra, so that you can kind of see my progress and how I integrated the two together. It really is a huge thing when you're doing pictures like this. It makes it so much easier. Okay guys, the last thing I have to show you, the last couple of things really, is say if you're wanting to sketch with these, which you can absolutely do. What you can do, and you want to mix it with or without watercolor pencils, with or without watercolor. So I have my homemade watercolor palette that I made up. It's a lot of fun. It can be frustrating, but I made this up myself. Sometimes you can see the paint does crack a little bit. It's not a big deal. It's still usable. It's not desirable, but so I have that. And by the way, I got this on Amazon. It included the pieces and little pans and everything. It's like, I don't know, $10, $15. Not much at all. It's a lot of fun. If you haven't tried it, you should. And you're into like watercolor, you should try making your own palette. It's a lot of fun. So, having said that, I'm going to take my darkest color here, and I'm just going to draw a simple leaf. I'm not going to like keep it super complicated because I'm not the greatest freehand artist. You can see I'm on the rough side, by the way, and not the smooth side. So I'm just kind of sketching it. Just remember, the more you put down, the more you're going to have to push around. So just, when you're sketching, just bear that in mind. Now, I want to show you a couple little tricks. So I've got that laid down. What you can do is take either your watercolor brush that has the water with it or without. It kind of doesn't matter. Although, as I said earlier, I find doing detail work with a watercolor brush a little harder, because depending on the quality of your watercolor brush, it can be the filled kind. It can be difficult to control the water. So what you want to do at this point is grab an appropriate brush for, what you're working on. So let's see, what do we have here? Okay. And you're going to take whatever watercolor you want. And in this case, I am going to go with, I think it's just sap green. I got to remember because I don't have my palette map. By the way, just as a side note, when you do things like this, always do two things. One, write on the thing the name of your, well, I can't get it out, but write on the side of the pan the name of the paint. I didn't do that once recently, like over Christmas, and I lost my map that I had made up for it, and there was a couple of colors I was like, I'm not sure, and I had to go kind of backtrack, and it was annoying. So just food for thought there. So I'm gonna let this activate a little bit here. Okay, and while that's activating, I'm going to get this wet, and I think I'm going to add a little bit of this in just up here. And the other pencil that I used, sorry, I forgot to tell you what it was. My apologies. I believe, if my old lady eyes are not failing me. Okay, because sometimes they do. Yes, spruce green. I thought so. And then this is yellow green. Perfect choices. Okay. My old lady glasses come to the rescue again. And I'm going to zoom in just a little more here. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to add a little bit of this since it's not the same as the other. going to take, that's probably what that this cracked yellow one, that's probably what that is. I really dislike it when it cracks like that, but it, you know, as I said before, it's not the end of the world. Your paints will still work. So what you need to do is get your, now I'm not going to get the whole thing wet. At first I'm going to start in the middle where I don't have anything, because it's kind of like my highlighted area. And that's the water that I'm going to push around. You want it wet, but not like dripping wet. Like I shouldn't hold it over and have water just come pouring off of it. So you just a nice even coat of paint. And I'm going to grab, I think it's sap green. Yikes. And I'm going to just go at it. Now you'll see, hopefully I've got you close enough, that spruce that I put on the outside is starting to dissolve. And I'm going to let this water run down this ferrule because I don't mind it. But do keep an eye on the water. Sometimes it does that, especially if you don't do this. See? Okay. So. Sorry if I get quiet. I'm just trying to concentrate. If I get quiet, that's just why. But I'm going along the edges and I'm activating that spruce. And I'm just gently blending that spruce into the yellow. And remember, I had nothing in the middle. I need just a little more water. Okay. Now I could tell I need a little more spruce, but it's no big deal. Okay, so I'm going to grab a little bit of this yellow green from my paint palette from this, because this looks an awful lot like this, I think. So it's close enough that it'll work, and it'll show you that you can still use paint like this even though it's been cracked. I just gotta, and some people spritz their water. For me, I just take a paintbrush and I just kind of, ta-da. It might take a little longer to activate paint like that, but all right, let's get in there before it gets dry. Because I'll show you where this can really come in handy. Okay. So what I think I'm going to add, a little bit more, but notice I'm doing this at the not at the tip here. I'm doing it way up about as high as I can go without actually not using that part of it, because I don't want the majority of the pencil to be affected. Let's move this out the way. Okay, now here's where it can get fun. I'm going to take my spruce and watch this. You can do this dry or wet, but I prefer wet. And you're just gonna stick it in the water for, I don't know, maybe 10 seconds, something like that. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. My husband's Hispanic, sorry. I know a little. Okay, and you can tell when it's like with the durance, you can tell when it's activated because it kind of change. You can see that, you can literally see it change color. I hope my camera will show. It might not, but you can literally tell. That's when it's very vulnerable, and you really do need to be careful. And make sure there's not a ton of water running down your pencil, by the way. You don't want too much. Okay, so this is still wet, so it will bleed in some. And just make, if you have to re-dip it into the water, and much like your brush, just kind of do that. Same way you would a brush. Now, I'm going to do it one more time. And if you want to get a little fancy, and reinstate some of those lines, you can. Ta-da. I mean, it's entirely up to you. Look at that, see? Now, the best part is if you let this dry, those marks that I just made with this are not going to move because I already activated the pencil. So when I said you can do this with or without activating, you can, but then the pigment's going to move. So if you want it to stay put, you really do want to activate the pencil. I mean, it will stay to some degree or another, like, I'll show you. Let me grab a different pencil and I'll show you. Show really good. I believe it's violet. All right. And I'm going to use a different paper while we're letting this dry. And so I'm going to just draw another leaf. Oh, we're going to have a purple leaf. Okay. Now I'm going to I believe this is my mauve. Yeah. If you guys would like another tutorial specifically, I have a couple out there, but if you would like another one or something maybe from a different angle with a certain type of paint, you know, whatever. I would be happy to go through my process. It is a little lengthy, so I might have to do it in 2 parts. But I would be more than willing to do any other video. I have Daniel Smith. I have a little Cylinder, but not much. I have a lot of Winsor & Newton. I have some generic stuff. I bought some black paint that was being discontinued for just like $3 to $5 per tube, and it's such good paint. I believe I told you that earlier, but yeah, it's really good paint. So it's a shame, but what can you do? All right. Now let's get our paintbrush. Keep in mind how dirty your paint water is, by the way. I usually use two jars or my little square tub that I have, but I don't have that up here right now. So this one you can let some of the water, so I'm not gonna like swipe it as heavily as I normally would. But I'll show you what it's like when if you use it dry in this situation. The thing with supracolor is once it dries, it's pretty permanent. It's I wouldn't say it's like ink tints permanent, but it's close. It's pretty close. It becomes pretty stable once it's dry. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that there's plenty of water on the thing, so I'm going to grab my little mauve here. Oh, and you see the water? This is what I mean about being careful about the water running down your ferrule. See? So you really do have to be careful. I'm going to grab a little bit of that. I'm just going to throw that on there to make sure it's nice and wet. Okay, but not like sopping wet. You don't want that. All right, now instead of sharpening this, and make sure your lead is dry. I think this one is. Okay, but let's see. Hold on a second. Oh. Now instead of sharpening it, I'm just gonna do the same thing. Making sure that that background is adequately wet. And I'm going to outline this. It went up way farther than I wanted it to. I sort of pushed it a little too far, but it's cool. All right, so I didn't get that wet or anything like that. Now, what you can do is you can activate it. I would grab a smaller brush, like say this, for example. Make sure there's not a bunch of water on it. But you see how it's not really moving that much? Some of it is, and some of it has dried enough that it's because the surface that I put it on was wet, it's already started to dry this pigment right here. So depending on how dry it is, it's going to depend on how much it moves. See, it's moving some, but not a lot. I'm just going over it with the brush just to make sure that it's, you know, fully activated. So let's see how our other brush is doing, or other leaf. I don't know, I like the purple leaf. It's cool. Okay, so Oh, by the way, don't do what I just did. Always test with the back of your hand. Yeah, first anyway. And it's not 100% dry, but it should be dry enough for me to show you what I'm talking about. So, sorry about that. I got this for Christmas. Do you remember my art box video? I love this thing so much. Yikes, look at that, you guys. It's just, sorry. Anyway, moving on. So, now what I'm going to do is yeah, it should be dry enough. I'm not 100% sure if that's dry enough. And if it's not and you don't have a blow dryer, just doing this will kind of help speed that along. Okay. All right. And I'm going to go back over it, but with a blending color of some kind. So I think I'm going to grab more of my sap green. I think that works just fine. And you make sure you dab your brush, by the way. You don't want too much water. Now, this part will change, but watch what happens. Check that out. Do you see what I'm talking about? You see how that's not moving? That middle part that I drew with the spruce green, it's not budging, is it? I'm maybe going to grab some yellow, actually. I think this is just like cat yellow or something like that. And I'm going to, oh, watch your water. Look at that. See, I'm painting over it, and it's doing absolutely nothing. You see what I mean? So you literally, if you want to draw something, sketch something, whatever, you don't have to use a pencil, like a number 2 pencil, because then you got to get your kneaded eraser like this, and you got to go like this to get all the stuff off, which I don't know where that came from, but that's what you kind of have to do, or the lead will spread, graphite everywhere. It's a mess, trust me. So, but you see how, see how that middle part, even though I put paint over it, because it was 99% dry, that line that those leaf part that I drew with the spruce green didn't budge at all. So, that's just a little food for thought. In one way you can do it, and then this is the other way where you do it dry, and then you just take the time to sort of outline it a little bit if you want. And the thing about this is that you can go back over, like say I wanted this spot lighter. Make sure you let it dry. You could do it dry or wet. I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to get this wet. Just drip my water off of it. Don't push too hard, by the way. You don't want to push too hard when the lead is wet like this, because it's like with the Inktense, you could snap. They're very vulnerable when they're soft like that. And there you go. It's kind of cool, and the marks just they stay. They don't go anywhere. It's really wild. And the other thing that I wanted to show you was, like, say if you had some colored pencils and you didn't have any oil pastel crayons like we were talking about earlier. You could take a wax-based pencil such as Prismacolor. Polychromos would work too. Faber-Castell Polychromos would also work. And I'm just gonna, this one you want to be careful because it can chew up your pencil lead, especially if it's a soft pencil like this. So you kind of want to be careful. But should you not have the Neo 1s, this will work. So I'm going to take my... Let's see, let's grab a color. Oh, I'll have to, I got to show you that, yikes, hold on. I got to show you guys that granite rose, man. Oh, let me find that. Let's pull this out because I have to show this granite rose to you guys. This color is amazing. Hold on. You guys have to see this color. It's just like, whoa, whoa. It's so amazing. Hold on. I'm going to dig that bad boy out. There it is. Remember what I said about when you're putting these away to watch out for these little plastic thingies? It can be a little bit of a challenge to get them back in. I've found that to be so, because these have to be popped out to the side or it will, because you can see it's giving me a hard time. That's the only really drawback besides the super bright lettering, which I absolutely hate. But that's just because I have bad eyesight. So I gotta show you guys this color. It's just this color is like phenomenal. This is that granite rose. And I'm gonna blow away my dust from my Prismacolor. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at that. Isn't that absolutely gorgeous? Oh, I love that color. Look at that, guys. This is what it looks like dry. Isn't that cool? So, watch this. I'm gonna rinse my brush out good. And I'm going to do something, and I'm going to show you guys how it just holds it. I'm going to get an extra amount of water, and I'm just going to let it drip down the ferrule and go into here. And you see that it's not going anywhere. Watch this. You see it's not, isn't that a gorgeous color though? Granite Rose. This is only available in the 120 set. I absolutely adore this color for many different things. But as you can see, it's not going outside that box that I drew with the Prismacolor. And you could do that with anything. I mean, if I had, I don't know. Here's my, I think this is like violet. And you want to make sure you draw it firm enough that you don't, that it fills in the tooth, but not so hard that you break it, obviously. And if I wanted to do something else, watch this. Okay. Yeah, Indian red. Watch this. And I have not activated it with water, or I'm just putting it on dry. You don't need to fill in every tiny little section. It's not necessary. Let's see, where's my paintbrush? There you are. Okay. Watch this. And I'm putting my brush directly on the purple Prismacolor. And while it darkens it a little, it doesn't move. And if you really wanted to get picky, you could take a little thin dry brush and go over the area where you put the Prismacolor just a little bit. And you can see where it doesn't I'll even go outside and I'll show you what I mean. Look at that. So you can do this with the Neo 1s or any other pastel crayon, preferably not the creamy ones though. I don't think it would work too well. So you want the harder ones like the Neo 2s or the Posca, Uni Posca oil pastels. But do you see how the shape is still there? Even though I've been going over it, it hasn't moved a bit. So that is basically what I wanted to show you, and I really hope that you guys enjoyed this. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. I am genuinely trying to push to 1,000 subscribers so I can monetize, because I really want to. And I hope that you guys have a blessed week. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye.